Gordon, Keane.
Afternoon. Listen, folks, a few years ago I took up running. So if you see my Wayne's Mod, don't tell her you saw me, right? Seriously, I was in my early 40s and I started to notice that's the age when all my friends and my family before me started to get health complications. And I thought to myself, I need to give myself the best chance in this lottery of life, so I'm going to start running and get fit. I didn't realise at that point that the 32 in the G32 postcode where I grew up was your fucking life expectancy. And these people had actually had a really good innings, all right? What I loved about running when I first started was that you can see really good progress if you follow a strict and a structured plan and you're consistent over it. You can run further and further for longer and longer. When I first started, I couldn't run 3 kilometres without stopping. 18 months later, I completed my first marathon. Thank you, I know. 3 months later, I completed my first ultra marathon. My wife wasted no time in getting me on a shagging training plan. I think she was jealous that I came last in that ultra. Is there anybody in here who's run a marathon? Put your hands up if you've run a marathon. There's a few, aye. Well, listen, that's impressive because only 0.01% of the population have run a marathon. And that's 1 in 10,000. And there's quite a few of us in here in a room of 200, so give yourself a round of applause. This is a fit room. That is, by coincidence, the same percentage of people in the world who can lick their own elbow. So give it a bash, let's see if we're as good at that in the room. If you're trying it. Honestly. But no, listen, I don't look like a runner. I certainly don't look like a marathon runner. I look as much a marathon runner as Mo Farah looks like a sumo wrestler. Or Peter Crouch looks like a jockey. Or Prince Harry looks like Charles. There is a big pressure in this day and age to live up to the image of social media, however. And that's no different for runners. But I feel as if even at 45, I've got a lot of potential. Because my brother married a Kenyan, and they've got a wee baby, so surely it's in the family genes, right? We all know Kenyans can run like fuck, right? And I read all the books about their coaching methods and how they got to that stage and how they were the world's envy. So I said to Hilda, I says, you must be some runner. And she turned around and she went, no, really. And I said, but I've heard all the stories about folk having to run away from lions just to get to school, or run away from leopards just to go to Asda. And she says, but Gordon, one thing. I says, what's that? And she says, I only had to make sure I was faster than Fat Mary. So running's really, really popular through the world now. Billions of people do it regularly, and it's become big business. There's sports tours operators opening up, and there's races all over the world, and there's exotic places. There's even one in Antarctica. And it's a great way to see the world, but I'd really recommend flying. It's much quicker. I'm also a running coach because when I get into something, I do look into it, and there's a thing, any runners in that know the 80-20 method? So the 80-20 method, for those of you that don't know, is when you run 80% of the time at a slow pace and a slow heart rate, and you run 20% of the time you're pushing yourself. I've developed my own cutting-edge version of the 80-20 method, where 80% of the time I can't be fucked and I just stay in my bed. And you can tell by that comment I've not been taking it as seriously as I should lately. In fact, I ran the London Marathon in April, and I was still drinking pints of neck oil at 6 o'clock the night before the race. I hadn't done any long runs, but it showed in my performance. I was overtaken by 2 guys dressed as bottles of Radox. There was a guy with a speaker on his back and a mic singing Britney Spears the whole way round. And I thought, fuck's sake, baby, one more time, I'll strangle you. And I was overtaken by a guy in a wheelchair, which wouldn't have bothered me, but he'd just spent 2 hours waiting in green flag to change a flat tyre. Now I'm going to leave you with one little bit of advice. It's a bit of health advice. They do say that running is very, very bad for your knees. It wasn't an issue for me. I was an altar boy. I just wish I could run back then. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your afternoon. Thank you very much.